Welcome, everyone, to the SnapCast podcast with your hosts, Brad O'Brien and Mike Cooley.
Now with synchronized audio.
Now, hopefully with synchronized audio. Jeez, I apologize for anybody we knocked off balance last week. That was horrible.
Counterbalance was the name of the game last week.
Loving the pun. What is this, episode blah, blah?
62, buddy.
Whoo, man.
We're in season 2, year 2 of the SnapCast podcast.
Man, it's crazy to think we've been doing this over a year, man, and we're still having so much fun doing it. I really enjoy this every week, showing up, talking with you about Magic cards and Magic-related things, which brings me to the upkeep of this. Throw another pun on this podcast.
Throw another pun on the Barbie.
If this is your first time joining us and you're like, what the hell have I dialed into here? This is a Magic the Gathering podcast where we talk about Magic.
And Magic-related things.
Nailed it. That's exactly what we do. We're geared
I never
towards...
get to do the intro.
You know, you can't...
Kind of hurt.
I fully trust you with the intro now. We've got it, like, down packed. But in case you were wondering, we're a
a podcast.
We're a podcast, and we are geared towards really the casual Magic player with a very competitive interest in finance in the Magic community here. We like to pick cards that are going to go up in price. We like to tell you the value. We like to tell you what we think, and I'm telling you what, 2021 has been our year. We've been nailing it with card value.
To be fair, we've gotten a lot of help from outside circumstances.
We sure have, but at the same time, we're picking the cards that really seem to be going up. I mean, especially in days where the stock market sucks, right? I've really questioned myself over the past few days. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should just listen to my own damn advice in the SnapCast and just buy Magic cards instead of stocks. I would have done a hell of a lot better. And that makes me happy. It means we're off to a good start in 2021 here. So welcome. We want to thank you guys for joining us this week.
We don't usually say this up front, but I'd like to start doing it, is that if you haven't, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you get notifications. I think you actually have to go through a second step, don't you? You have to click the bell icon.
Yeah, I don't know. They make it really complicated, dude. If you like us, just subscribe, dude. They'll throw the videos in there. Like, they'll let you know what's up. Yeah. Like, you know, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, if you like our picks, if we've made you
laugh,
any sort of...
Oh, you're going to say money?
Yeah, if you've profited off of any of our picks, or if we've made you laugh.
If you've laughed at my expense, jokes...
then just go ahead and give us a little sub, man. Let us know. We're happy to have you. Dude, We've got some good stuff on the agenda today, I think. We are going to be talking about some good old modern decks. Modern decks, the modern meta. We're going to be talking about Time Spiral spoilers. And, of course, we've got some sick picks for Snap This Up this week. And I'm so sure you're going to want to get these. I'm putting my full faith in these cards right here. I even put my money where my mouth is this week and actually snapped a lot of them up. Really, really good cards. So stay tuned for that.
Something weird is going on with the camera angle, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, you see this arm that's popping out right here into the camera?
Yeah. You usually don't see that.
I could cover up my entire face with it.
Well, and normally, like, my mic would be centered behind my nameplate on OBS. I don't think anybody actually cares about any of this except for me. I think it's the other way around, which is weird.
Yeah, we got it. We good. Good enough. I mean,
Good enough.
Most of the time, I don't want people to see my face anyway. I got a face for radio.
You definitely have a voice for podcasting. I will say, I listen to far too many podcasts throughout the course of the week, and I do. You know, it's not just self-stroking masturbation, but I listen to our podcast.
Don't lie, everybody. That's exactly what
I'm not saying that I masturbate while listening to our podcast. Holy crap. But I do listen to most of our casts.
It's good for quality control, you know?
Exactly. Because sometimes, I'm going to be honest, I have a little bit of that, what do they call it? Imposter syndrome. Where I'm like, is this really, am I giving good advice? And then I go back and I listen to our conversations and I'm thinking, I really don't care about it. We had a good time. I enjoy hanging out.
I don't give a shit. That was fun.
Exactly. But I'll tell you one thing. We sure do sound good. And you definitely have a voice for podcasting. So
Hey, appreciate that. I got a face for it too. It's but yeah, so wow, man, we were just looking at some lists on MTG top 8, and holy shit. I hate to drop shit so early in the podcast, but you've already dropped masturbating, and I feel like it's that time of the day. We really need to say...
Wait, the time to masturbate?
I'm just saying, there is some blowout stuff that I'm so impressed that I'm seeing again in Modern here. I'm blown away. It might be time for me to come back. Might be time for me to come back to the shop, start playing some Modern.
I'm going to go back a couple of days. So we're in the last event of February here, because I know you're excited about March.
Oh, yeah.
I want to work towards it.
Oh, yeah, please do, because this format is so healthy right now.
So this was on the 26th of February. That was just last Friday, I think.
Yeah.
Infect took the top spot.
Oh, man.
Man, when a deck like that can do well in a tournament, things are pretty fair.
Like, what is this? Is this, I mean, with the exception of maybe one of these decks, we could easily look at this list and be like, what year is this? Is this,
that's
2018?
2017,
2017, 2018. We've got Infect, Valakut, Utopia Gruul. We've got Burn, Death Shadow, Dredge, Aura Hexproof, and of course we've got the Landless Spy in there.
So that's the newest deck in this list.
Yeah, which I'm pretty bummed about.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see the Oops All Spell deck that's no longer playable in Pioneer showing up in Modern.
Yeah, it's really cool, man.
It's got the sideboard Charbelcher option, which is sweet. It means that the Balustrade Spies and Undercity Informers are not entirely without value. You know what is funny? This reminds me. There was so this got banned out of Modern, which made me think of the Modern deck that was based on Inverter of Truth. Oh. And when that deck popped off, it was kind of a joke that was from Oath of the Gatewatch. It was this random mythic that jumped up to crazy values because of that deck. And I thought, I have a bunch of Oath of the Gatewatch. I must have that. So I went through all of my stuff. Could not for the life of me find a single Inverter of Truth.
What?
Now we're like 5-6 months after Inverter gets banned. I was resorting a bunch of cards. Sure enough, found 2 Inverter of Truths. Going through my stuff, was like,
it's always how it happens,
I wish I could have gotten rid of those 6 months ago.
Always how it happens.
Is there anything new in this first place Infect deck that we wouldn't have seen in 2017? There is.
Dude. There's a beautiful card that I've seen pop up in a lot of decks that I'm really pumped about, man. This card is changing the meta.
You're funny.
This card is changing the meta. Check out this Snakeskin Veil, man. This card is nasty.
Snakeskin Veil. I'm
just gonna bring
right
this
out
up
of
here.
Kaldheim.
So this card, right straight out of Kaldheim. Very recent print here. It's 1 green mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains hexproof until end of turn. So it's like a offensively defensive card. This thing is so cool, man. It also is going to pop up. You're going to see it a little later here in one of my pet decks.
In one of Cooley's pet decks.
Yep.
But I do like to see that there is a new card in here. Choke has been really popular in every sideboard that can play it right now.
It's really good.
Force of Vigor out of Modern Horizons 1. We talked about that quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is cool. Anything cool in the Valakut list here?
Omnath, Locus of Creation.
And Valky, God of Lies, because you can bring to light into the backside of Valky.
Oh my god.
Good enough for Modern.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, wait.
You can't Cascade, but you can bring to light.
Oh. Okay, so they only changed Cascade. They forgot about Bring to Light, so you can Bring to Light. Oh god, that's stupid.
And because Bring to Light is search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of colors spent to cast Bring to Light.
Nobody ever thinks about Bring to Light because it's only 50 cents.
You have to pay 2 colors into Bring to Light, so you can go find Valky, and then it says exile that card. And then it says you can cast the card without paying its mana cost.
Oh, man.
So when you cast the card, it doesn't check the CMC or anything at that point.
Beautiful. Well done.
Still a modern staple, that Velky Godalize.
Yep, so good. What is the price of it, dude? If you click on that, did the price of it go down substantially? Nope, not at all. Not even affected. Not even affected. $25 still. That's stupid if you ask me.
For an imprint mythic?
Imprint mythic, but also a huge rule change. Like, what did we see to all of the other cards when they did the companion rule change there? They just tanked. Boom, tanked in price. And there's an entire rule change around the modern format, really. I mean, it's really every format, but it affected modern the most.
Yeah.
And sure as hell, like, this card just doesn't lose any value. It's like, no problem. We're still going to run this in standard. But $25? Should we be short selling these if we can? What the hell, man?
Well, I have struggled with this going on a year now. The pandemic has been impacting Magic tournament play for going on a year. Why does this card have a price at all? You're only playing it on Arena.
I mean, it's sort of a fair point. It's like, I mean,
who knows what this card should be priced?
I mean, there are still some LGSs out there doing tournaments and doing their thing, but really, $25 for this?
One of the other things that I would like to point out, now I'm sure we don't see them, yeah. This card is going to be reprinted. Let's see. This card's being reprinted.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, I love how you're segueing into this beautiful time spiral spoilers here.
Looking at this deck, you know, what's being...
Prime time being reprinted in the old border art. Oh, it's going to be so beautiful.
Actually, the thing that got me excited about this was looking at the Triomes.
Wow.
That are seeing more play in Modern.
Wow.
How about this Utopia Gruul? So it's a Utopia Sprawl deck. Klothys, we talked about him like a month ago.
Oh, yeah. Still a good buy, I think.
Still a good buy. Elder Gargaroth, like, okay. Here's your Modern third place thing. We've got some Arbor Elves and some Bloodbraid Elves. Bloodbraid Elf also being reprinted. Then that's followed up by 2 Bone Crusher Giants printed this year. 2 Elder Gargaroths printed this year. 1 Glory Bringer printed like 4 years ago. 3 Klothys printed this year. Scavenging Ooze in standard.
Wow. What about Chandra Torch of Defiance? What is this? Is this still a $5 card? Nope, it's gone up 50% since we told you we don't care that it went down to $5. Snap them up.
I want to go check this out.
50, 60%. I guess you can still get them for $6, but still.
It's gone up since we talked about it at $5.
Yeah. Card is stupid, dude. So it's in one of the top 3 decks in Modern. God, that's so good.
In this event.
Yeah, okay.
Let's not give it too much credit.
Okay. I'll reserve my enthusiasm.
Burn. Monastery Sorcerer just got a reprint. Lava Spike just got a reprint.
And it's going to be old border too, man. So can you imagine how the legacy decks are going to look with all these cards? Because there's actually legacy burn. That's a thing. And now legacy burn is going to be able to have, I think, every single, with the exception of maybe Rift Bolt.
In old border?
In old border. That's so crazy.
Well, they're not getting a skew of the critics, and they're not playing.
They might not play that.
They're not playing that. Sorry.
Yeah, there's way better cards in Legacy. They got what's the one where you sacrifice 2 mountains instead? That's what they do. They're just
I know I have that in my mono red
Fire Blast. Is that what it is?
I think you are correct.
Yep.
It's in my Pauper deck because the mono red Pauper deck is the only one that I've built. But really nothing new here.
I just love that a burn deck, and you're going to see this in a lot of these lists. Burn decks show up a lot, and this is the Cooley sort of litmus test for a lot of formats. If burn is consistently in your top 8, you've got yourself a healthy format.
Yeah,
like it's sort of a litmus test for a lot of these. Like Vintage, do you ever see burn in that? No, it is not a healthy format. It is a busted format. Like. I mean, it never will be healthy. It will always be Power 9 necessary sort of format. Look at Modern. It's just so cool. You see Burn popping up everywhere. You see all of these, like, these legendary Modern decks popping up everywhere, even in spite of all of these new cards being printed, new decks popping into the format every once in a while.
It is cool. It definitely renews my faith in the fact that you can just have your Modern deck and it may go in and out of favor, but it's reasonable. So like a modern deck is still an okay way. It's an okay investment. And by that, I mean, it's a place to park some money for a little while. You might be able to get some of it out. It might increase, it might decrease, as all investments we know can do. But
if you're investing in your fun factor of a deck,
you're going to be able to play that
exactly like
on and on.
If you're investing,
seeing Dredge, Dredge has been around since Dredge has been around.
Exactly,
and it's still playable.
They've always
Boggles.
Been trying to...
I noticed actually. We got an aspiring MTG pro that subscribed to our channel last week.
What?
Who is an avid Boggles player.
Oh, man.
Mr. Slater Claudel.
Hell yeah. Welcome, Slater. Thanks for subscribing.
If you happen to see this, thank you for subscribing. Nothing really new here.
I still remember, I got to say. Oh, Lurus of the Dream Den. Yeah, that is just beautiful. That's just
companion, and it meets...
Oof, that's just... gross.
Mwah.
That's just gross.
Chef's kiss.
Ugh. So like in the rare event, like this deck is so weird. It's like in the rare event that you can handle my deck here, my Boggles deck, in the rare event
that you're playing Chainer's Edict and Lily Allen's Triumph.
Like in the rare event that you're doing board wipes that I don't have a totem for, or you're doing sacrifice dudes. In the rare event, I'm just going to dump this like 3-2 into play and start bringing them back. It's so, that's discouraging to say the least. I still remember, speaking of Slater, I still remember some of the games we used to play back when I lived closer to the Augusta shop in Maine up here. We used to play some epic of classic Affinity versus Boggles matchups. Oh my God. This was... I've never had more fun playing Magic than seeing an outrageously huge Bogle crash into an Etched Champion and do no damage. It's the beauty of Magic. Healthy format, let me tell you. I mean...
So, that makes me wonder... And you would be the person that I would ask this question to. So in my Boros equipment deck for Commander, I got the idea this week to put an Etched Champion in the deck. Because you can swords the shit out of that thing and swing into anybody.
Oof.
When you've got a couple of artifacts on the board and it just has protection from everything, you can swing at anybody.
Yeah, it has protection from all colors, but if you're equipping it with swords and all these colorless equipments, you can get right past that. Like
that's what I'm saying. You can swing at just about anybody unless they're playing happen to be playing some colorless creatures that could block.
God, that's so good.
It seemed like a no-brainer, and I don't know that I've seen anybody else do that in EDH.
I really like that, man. Etched Champion is just so good. If you have an artifact-based deck and you're trying to play any sort of game. I mean, like, if you always have a lot of artifacts out, it just seems like a good card. Like, yeah, by the way, here's a 2/2 you can't handle. Like, he's unblockable for the most part.
Yep.
You just can't handle this guy. He's just too much for a lot of decks. It's really weird, man. It's so weird to think about because he's just so fair. He's such a fair card in and of himself. But when you put him in these busted...
You put him in a deck with a few more equipment.
Yeah, God, he gets insane pretty quick.
I love that idea that you have a lifelinker, chump.
Yeah,
you have a lifelinker, chump.
Yeah, no problem. God,
you don't actually do any damage. So you just said a second ago that a format is good when a fair deck is doing well. What was that deck?
Oh man, look at this burn doing well yet again.
So now we're into the month of March. We're looking at the MTGO Modern Prelim. From March 2nd, and taking the top spot, Burn.
God, the deck is so good, man.
It's just consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
I have not seen this polymorph deck, but hey, look, Transmogrify. Didn't we talk about that a month ago?
Okay, so this is, they legit run polymorph too, and the only creature is Emrakul, the Eon's Torn. Does this say cast it when you... with polymorph, like when you polymorph something?
No.
Okay, just put it into play, right?
Just put it into play. So you don't get the cast trigger.
Still.
But,
that don't matter, though.
It doesn't matter. If you can't kill it, I'm going to destroy 6 permanents next turn.
It's like, yeah, here's my board. You got to deal with it or you die.
Anger of the Gods, just reprinted in old border. Fire Prophecy. I'm so happy to see this card showing up in older formats.
Oh, my God. Oh, wow. What a beautiful card. Ramps you and kills a dude.
Well, it allows you to rummage, but you're not discarding that card. You're putting it on the bottom of your library. So I got excited and talked with Mike about this card in relation to Grenzo.
Ooh.
Where with Fire Prophecy, you can kill somebody's Noble Hierarch and put the card that you want on the bottom of your deck.
So if you accidentally draw one of these Emrakuls, you can just bottom it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so in this deck, it certainly plays a great role of getting a card out of your hand that, the Emrakul or whatever.
Yeah, I really like that. It's really defensive, too. Like, it's got lightning bolts. It's got a really nice curve. Lightning bolts. Is it charms? Is it charms?
Is it?
Is it?
Was it?
And then force of negation. So it's got a turn 0 counter, turn 1 disruption, turn 2 disruption.
Spell snare. God, I love a deck that runs a good spell snare.
Oh, yeah, man.
Kevin Flagg would love this deck just because of spell snare. He might not like the 3 transmogrify. I like the 3 transmogrify.
Well, it's just this deck isn't really planning to get to like turn 6, 7.
What is
you know what I
this?
mean? This is just planning to jam it and slam it.
Cloud Form. I have never heard of this card.
Oh, me
Cloud
neither.
Form. 1 blue enchantment. When Cloud Form enters the battlefield, it becomes an aura with enchant creature. So in your hand, it's not an aura. It becomes an aura when it enters the battlefield. Okay. Manifest the top card of your library and then attach Cloud Form to it.
Oh, so it just gives you a creature to sacrifice.
Well, and enchanted creature has flying and hexproof.
Oh my God, yeah. So it has flying and hexproof, generates a creature, so if you can't do anything about it, they definitely turn 4, get an Emrakul.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's cute.
Why isn't there 4 of that card in the deck?
4 to Fairy Time Raveler so that your opponent doesn't get to have any fun. In the sideboard, they have a 3rd Cloud Form. I like that. 3 Chain to the Rocks. I've been seeing this and is it on Thin Ice? The snow version of Chain to the Rocks. I've been seeing that see more play.
Dude, can I read Polymorph real quick? Because I thought you needed a creature for this, right? You need a creature for Polymorph.
Oh, you need a token to Polymorph, yeah.
Where the hell are they getting the tokens? Do they only have the 2 Cloud Forms in this deck?
Dwarven Mine, my dude.
Ah, okay.
So Dwarven Mine says, if you control 3 or more other mountains when you play it, create a 1/1 red dwarf creature token.
Okay. So maybe they are planning on getting to like turn 5 and playing this. That's so weird.
That's it. They're controlling with Is It Charms, Force Negations, Remands. It's a tempo deck just trying to keep you off what you're doing.
This is the new twin. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It just disrupts you. It has a backup plan of like.
Well, and the best part
damage.
is you can Teferi Plus and Transmogrify or Polymorph at instant speed.
Oh
so you could even do it on their end step
Oh my
so that you untap with Emerald.
Oh my God. That's so stupid.
Teferi Time Raveler, if you don't have them, get them.
Oh my God. Are they going to ban this in Modern too? That card is so demoralizing.
All right, 3rd place in this event, Jund. What's Jund doing?
Oh, it's got running 6. By the way, that's the one if you ain't got them. Like they're clearly not reprinting this anytime soon. Like what is this? I'm so curious now.
$60.
Still $60. It hasn't really changed much.
Liliana the Veil.
$70.
That's pretty good.
Yep. Wow.
Nothing super new here. It's Croxa, whatever you want to say. What are you trying to do, dear?
I'm trying to scroll up, but this mouse wheel is weird.
It is. It's like inverted sometimes.
Yep. Exactly. It's inverted sometimes.
Seasoned Pyromancer, man. That dude needs to catch a reprint stat.
What is he at for a price now? $30?
Yeah.
Hey, we were saying snap this guy up at 10. I wish I would have taken my own advice.
Yeah.
I think I only got 2 of them now.
I'm trying to figure out why they're running some of these snow-covered lands.
Because why not? I mean, why not? No one's going to punish you for snow permanents, right?
Well, but what I'm saying is I don't see a payoff. It's just cute.
Right.
They're just doing it. Maybe because the play of like, I don't have anything on one, so I'm just going to go snow-covered forest and pass. And your opponents, you're getting that value of them thinking, oh, is he going to play that, that flash 2/1/1 flyer?
Yeah.
Like, are you on the snow deck? So I guess.
Well, there's that, but also, do you remember the days of the lens? What was it called? The lens card.
I know what you're talking about.
Yep. There's this 3-mana artifact that says, when it comes into play,
exile
imprint a land from your deck. And a lot of times they would imprint a snow-covered mountain because nobody ran snow-covereds. So I think this is just in direct response to stupid decks that might exist like that, where you can ramp 2 off from, you know what I mean? I've always said there's no drawback right now to running snow-covered.
Another card. So the one card on this list that I would say you should definitely keep your eye on, Ashiok Dreamrender. It's an uncommon from War of the Spark. There's a bunch of them. There's the beautiful stained glass version. Oof. Spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause their controller to search their library. You can't fetch. You can't do anything that's going to go search for a card. And
you can't bring to light.
Yeah.
God, that's
good hate card. Right now it's cheap. We were just looking at Veil of Summer. There are so many $10 uncommons, dude.
Yeah.
Ashiok Dreamrender could easily be a $5 to $10 uncommon in 2 years.
You're going to hate yourself if you didn't get him at $2, I feel
Hey,
like.
Bear! Oh, I'm excited.
Oh, man. Maul of the Skyclaves. Hey, you've been talking about that card for a while.
I have, and we talked a lot about Archon of Emeria.
Now it's showing up in Modern. This was showing up, mind you, the reason this was on my radar, it was showing up in Vintage.
And if it's good enough for Vintage, goddammit, it's good enough for me.
I feel like a lot of people are seeing it. I mean, this is in Modern now. I'm telling you, if a card hits Vintage in that busted format, it's a busted card. And here we're seeing it in Modern.
1 Batterskull, 1 Maul of the Skyclaves, and 1 Sword of Fire and Ice.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
10 Snow-Covered Plains.
Because why not? Again.
Why not?
Again.
Elganjo Castle. Just to protect your Thalias.
Really?
I mean, because all it does is prevent 2 damage to a legendary creature, right?
Yeah.
Nothing else here is legendary.
Wow, that's so weird. That's so weird.
I mean, I guess it's a freebie. It doesn't come in tapped or anything.
Do they have anything in the sideboard?
Non-legendary Oriok Champion, Aven Mind Sensor. Aven Mind Sensor, that's cute. I wonder if that's for the Bring to Light decks and for other just Scape Shift decks.
Yeah, weird.
Oh, Scape Shift, sack my lands, in response, Aven Mind Sensor.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of decks that have the hate for searching your library. Why? Is it polymorph? Is it no, it's not even polymorph decks. Like,
I don't think so. This is another undervalued card right now.
Oh, it's
Winds of Abandon.
Yeah.
It's Mass Path to Exile. It's Wrath to Exile. Exile target creature you don't control. For each creature exiled this way, its controller searches their library for a basic land. Those players put them onto the battlefield, tap and shuffle their libraries. You can overload it for 6, and instead of target, you replace that with each, so all creatures your opponents control.
Wrath to Exile is a great name for this card. I love this.
5th place, Amulet Titan, featuring Bajuka Bug, catching a reprint.
In more snow-covered basics.
Featuring Teleria West, catching a reprint. Featuring Primeval Titan, catching a reprint.
This is beautiful. This might be a good segue into showing people what's going on with.
No, we still got to get to your favorite deck. Well, all right, we'll skip ahead.
Let's.
So I'm just mostly when I'm going through these, I want to see in general. There's nothing crushing. So we haven't seen a list here that has. I don't even think we've seen 2 of the same deck in these top 8s, right?
Yeah, we got a couple Jund here, but I mean, you kind of even within Jund decks, sometimes they're slightly different. I mean, these.
Of course, as I say that, you're like, Brad, there's 2 Jund decks in this top 8.
Well, someone was gonna say it.
Heliod, that's right. A better you than some.
But yeah, I mean, but it's very rare though. Like, you know what I mean? You're not seeing one deck take over an entire
Urzatron, Mono Green, Thragtusk, catching a reprint.
Oh, man.
Ancient Stirrings, catching a reprint. Sylvan Scrying, catching a reprint. Chromatic Star, catching a reprint.
Is it really? Wow. Yeah. GG.
But not Sphere, which has upset some people. Our regular listener, Mr. Jason Clark, was rather upset that he had to go all the way back to Mirrodin and pay $30 for a foil chromatic Sphere.
Jesus, dude. Can you remember when the regular chromatic stars were like $8? I say reprint the shit out of that. If you didn't pick up Sphere, noticing that it was basically the same thing back in the day, that is your loss, my friend. Because you noticed, you should have known it was the same damn thing back then.
Jason, how attached are you to that foil full art Force of Will? Just saying.
Why, do you have some foil spheres for him?
I'm just saying, you know.
That'd be a good trade, dude.
We could work something out.
I'd do that all day.
One extra, let's see. Oh, interesting. They have a wastes in the sideboard. One thing is, this is telling you that the colorless and even mono green sideboard options are not great.
Or just people are running Path to Exile.
People are running Path.
Or Blood Moon or some dumb shit like that.
Just keeping the option open.
Yep.
Also, wastes caught a reprint with the old border.
That's kind of cool, actually.
That is kind of cool. All right, so last modern list that we're going to go through, the most recent MTGO Modern League. Top deck, blue-white control, followed by blue-red aggro. I think this is Prowess. It is with Stormwing Entity and Sprite Dragon.
Beautiful.
Blue-white X mid-range. This looks like a fun deck. I'm into this deck. Niambi Esteemed Speaker, Snapcaster, Spellqueller, Stoneforge Mystic.
Beautiful.
Couple of swords. Again, Teferi Time Raveler, so that your opponents can't do anything.
Right, exactly.
Spirits. Spirits don't really look any different than they ever have. They have adopted Glasspool Mimics.
Yeah.
Other than that, pretty much the same one you've seen for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, look at this, though. Very healthy list.
Actually,
There's so many different...
Interesting.
Yeah, this used to be big in fish decks.
Yeah, but it hasn't been popular in spirits that I'm aware of.
And it is a spirit in and of itself.
4-color ramp. Omnath, Locust of Banning.
Of course. Ran in 6 because busted.
Yeah, and then we pair these, the Jace the Mind Sculptor, Teferi Hero of Dominaria, Teferi Time Raveler, Renin 6, and Omnath, alongside 3 Cryptic Command, 3 Force Negation, 2 Lightning Bolt, 2 Lightning Helix, 3 Mana Leak, 4 Path to Exile, a Spell Snare.
If this deck doesn't paint a picture of the most busted curved planeswalkers of all time, I don't know what will. Right? Renin 6 at 2, right? Then at 3 you got Teferi, and then at 4 you got Jace, and at 5 you got Teferi again.
And wherever Zach Fowler is, Mr. GB, he probably just woke up and was like, what's going on? I don't know why. I just woke up.
Oh, man. That's why.
Because this deck is totally speaking his language.
Crazy, man. Yeah, there's some good cards.
Malekith, we talked about earlier.
Prime time catching that reprint, dude.
Amulet Titan, following that.
I'm just curious as to what click on the Titan and see what its price is.
Titan
yeah, the Primeval Titan. Did it drop in price at all? Yeah, it did. It's at $8 now. Yeah, $8 you can get them for.
Yeah, if we go and look at the different printings, $8.
That one's been so weird because it kind of kicked around at $10 for the longest time. And I don't think we ever suggested it on here, but it was always one of those cards where I was like, I didn't want to buy it because it was such a legendary card. I was like, they're going to reprint this eventually, right? But I was like, but it's only $10 and it hasn't been reprinted in the longest time. But here we go. Now, this might be the time to do it. Like, whenever it drops to, prime time, get them, dude, because it's just obviously not going anywhere.
Well, and the double whammy from it being printed in the secret lair.
Yep.
With the other Titans.
That's true.
And being printed in Time Spell Remastered.
It seems like it was forgotten about, though, in reprints for the longest time before that.
So here's the deck that Cooley hinted to earlier. One of his most favorite pet decks that actually is featuring 4 brand new cards and 4 other cards printed in the last year. I mean, that's 8 cards right there. That's a pretty big change for a modern deck.
Dude, this is insane. So we're talking about hardened scales, and I had the wind taken out of my hardened sails when they banned Mox Opal. Fucking Brad loves the fun.
I'm so proud of him. Took the wind out of my hardened sails.
When they banned Mox Opal, I was like, damn it, you're taking everything from me. Like, I was a big fan of Classic Affinity before this, and then, as soon as I saw Hardened Scales was a deck, I was like, well, shit, I gotta run this now. This is way better. And then they banned Mox Opal, and this thing kind of fell out of favor for a while. But look at this list, man. Like, some of these cards now that are bringing this deck back, this deck has always been about efficiency, right? Like, if you're gonna run an Affinity deck in the 2021 world in Modern, it has to be efficient. There's no more bullshit like you used to see in Classic Affinity, where it's like, I have a shitload of stuff, I'm going to sack it and put it on this one guy. On this. Yeah, it's like, or I'm just going to surprise you with a cranioplating. No, there's force of negation now. There's no more dumbass surprises in Affinity these days. It's like, you have to be super efficient and always keep your opponent guessing. And this deck does such a good job of that, man. I really love this build. So, first of all, the card that we were talking about, the brand new card, is that Snakeskin's Veil. Like, check this card out, man. This card is so cool.
That showed up in the Infect list that we looked at earlier.
I mean, and it's super efficient.
Cat, stop pulling at my stuff. It is super efficient.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this deck. 1 mana, it puts a 1/1 counter on something. If you have Hardened Scales out, it puts 2 1/1 counters on something. And gives it hexproof. So, like, you can respond, which a lot of times in a lot of those decks in Affinity, like Affinity-based decks before, they were missing that aspect of it in the main deck.
Yeah, you put your stuff out on the table and hoped.
Yep, that's what I'm doing. You have to deal with it. And now it's like, you have to deal with it, and you have to plan on me having disruption for you dealing with it.
Response.
Response. Snakeskin Veil. Like, yeah, he's got hexproof. So now you can hit up your Inkmoth Nexus. If you just go turn 1 land, turn 2 Inkmoth Nexus, or turn 1 land Hardened Skills, turn 2 Inkmoth Nexus, and like Arcbound Ravager, you can now turn 3 still bust out like an animated Inkmoth with a Snakeskin Veil, Arcbound Ravager, whatever other 0 drops you have. And it gets pretty vicious, dude.
It's a cool addition. It's sort of, thinking about Blossoming Defense. That's the card that I think of and I didn't notice if this replaced it in Infect or was in addition to, but that
was in addition to.
+2 in hexproof until end of turn.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. With Snakeskin Veil in this deck, if you're playing with Hardened Scales, you're getting +2 permanently.
Yeah.
And hexproof for that critical moment where they go to, you go to modular everything onto that Inkmoth for the win, and they're like, bolt it. And you're like,
no, thank you. But I mean, also the Ozolith is one of the newer cards in this deck, and it's running 4 of them.
You want to have it every game.
Yeah, like this is a card that I was pretty fired up about when it came out, but I was like, I'll wait for the price to drop. The price has never dropped. Like, it's just kind of sat around $10, and now it's 13. And I'm like,
I don't know where you go.
Like, I feel like I gotta get this now if I want to play this deck. It's just super efficient, man.
There's a lot of talk going on. We talked about this again months ago. My hope that we would see.
We're looking at the cat now. Akasha has figured out that there's things that look like strings associated with headphones.
Oh yeah, she wants to eat these headphones cables.
You guys want to see her? She's not so camera shy anymore. Look at her.
She's not so camera shy, but she's just hard to see, and she's like liquid.
Right.
Just black hats, and the camera is hard to see. Hold on, we'll go back to the main camera for a second because we actually don't need the computer list anymore.
Say something, Kitty.
Just, there are more shops holding events, despite circumstances. There are more shops that are currently holding unsanctioned events. More people are playing Paper Magic, and by the time we get around to next fall, I think that you will see sanctioned events again before the end of 2021. I I hope maybe that's a false hope in my heart, but I think we're going to see sanctioned events, at least on the small scale, by the end of the year. And so, yeah, Mike, you need to have your Ozoliths because
gotta have them, dude.
I want to see you at the shop playing Magic again.
Yeah, me too, man. And especially now that Hardened Scales is a thing again, I gotta show up. I gotta remind people what's up, dude. Just gotta remind them what's up. I'm just so pumped that it's that's the type of format we're looking at with Modern.
God damn! So WotC has not only knocked it out of the park, jumping ship. Spend the rest of the cast. We just want to talk about some of these Time Spiral Mastered cards.
We gotta.
We
dive
have
into
to,
these.
and we're looking at the newest previewed cards on Mythic Spoiler, and WotC is just hitting it out of the park for reprinting cards that they just had to ban in different formats.
Oh man, they're nailing it. There's so many cards on this
Mystic
reprint
Sanctuary
list.
in the old school border, even though it's no longer modern legal. Tide Hollow Sculler. Oh, I love this card. I wish this card got played more often.
Yeah, that is beautiful in the old border too.
Woo! Hollow one.
Ooh, wow.
Like
we haven't
that
seen Hollow
looks-
one in Modern for a while, have we?
No, we haven't. And
Man.
that was Faithless Looting. We lost. I think that sort of died out when Faithless Looting got banned.
Makes sense.
Again, we're not the competitive podcast, so my memory might be vague. I'm a humans player.
They still run this in Vintage, believe it or not. Vintage Dredge will run Hollow ones. Main deck a lot of times. Like, really good.
Vanquish's banner in the classic border. That's cute.
Yeah, that's so good.
So one of the things that I learned this week, and if you're somebody that really does follow a lot of Magic content, you probably have heard this already. These old border cards, yes, you are going to get one out of 121 possibles in every pack. The odds on getting a foil,
I think your cat farted, dude. Do you smell
and it's
that?
nasty. She's got the worst.
Oh, what the fuck do you feed this thing? Oh my god, I'm sorry to take away from the spiel you were going on. Holy shit, kitty. What the fuck?
What died in your ass?
Oh my god. That was probably on my hand too. Fuck you. Then she just walks away. Oh, Jesus. Oh, fuck that cat.
See, now if you were drinking whiskey, you wouldn't be able to smell it.
Oh my god, that was terrible. Well, I take back everything I said about your cat.
So, yes, you can get one of these alt art cards in every pack, but you're only going to get a foil in about 1 in 26 packs on average. The math has been done to guarantee that you open one of a particular foil. You have to open around 91 boxes to be sure that you're going to get one foil of the card that you want.
It's interesting because
That's $11,000 at wholesale.
That's nuts. And here's the interesting part about it, which I can kind of appreciate this. I appreciate this as an OG Magic player, been playing since Mercedes Mask, I think was the first set I ever played. Well, that was what was out when I started playing Magic. Back in the day, the rate at which you would find foils was very comparable to that. Like they
very
were
low.
Yeah, it was extremely rare that you would see a foil. If you got a foil rare, it was like, wow, this is a $20, $30 card because it's a rare and it's foil. You know, anybody who wants it will pay this.
Oh.
Now it's like you get foil versions that are sometimes even comparable to the regular versions, but they've gone back. That's what is very interesting about the set is they've gone back to that, not only the old border, but the old rarity of foils in the packs.
Well, and with the last few standard sets, we've been spoiled because they've had the collector boosters. And the collector boosters are all foil plus a bunch of extended art foils.
Yep.
And that introduced an ungodly amount of regular pack foils into the market. So that now when you're right, when you look at cards now that are in standard print sets, the foil and non-foil are nearly identical.
Exactly.
But the alt arts and extended art foils, those are the next step up. In this set, people are already talking about how this is unobtainium. This is the alt art old frame bordered foils in this set are going to be stupidly rare.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Dovan's Veto. Even if you get an uncommon remotely playable, you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Just hold on to it. The foils are so rare.
Bajuka Bog in the old frame.
Ugh.
But also, one of the things that I don't want to overlook, there are just great cards in this set. Great reprints. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Like, that's a great card to see a reprint. Lots of play in Pioneer, Mono Black. Lots of play in Commander.
Yeah, it's great.
Old art, old bordered Solemn Simulacrum. Oh, old bordered Grenzo Dungeon Warden. Aren't we glad we bought a bunch of those 6 months ago?
Oh my god.
I listened to... Oh, who was I listening to last night? Oh, it's going to kill me because it's a Magic card that I can't think of the name of. Anyway, there's another
Arc of Araska.
Yeah, there's another podcast whose name is based on a blue cantrip.
Yep.
The
Brainstorm Brewery?
No.
Oh.
That's not a cantrip. Oh, Brainstorm.
Yeah, it is. Brainstorm. It is the best cantrip in the world.
Serum Visions podcast, I think.
Yep.
What the hell? I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they were talking in their last episode about specking on Arch of Araska as being one of the few cards from that set that might someday be worth something. I really liked their logic. Like, they had me sold that Ascend, the what the fuck do you call it? The
Ascend mechanic?
The Ascend mechanic.
Yeah.
Being related to that plane and having 10 items in play, having 10 permanents in play, was so specific to Ixalan that it was like, is this going to see a reprint? Probably not.
Right.
They're not just going to throw an Ascend card in randomly. Here they are.
Wow. And here it is. Like, Ascend card with the old border art. God, that looks so good. Panharmonicon with the old border.
They actually let Saffron Olive spoil this because Panharmonicon's his favorite card.
It's so good. It's a fun card, man.
The Suva reprint. Like, here's the thing. Everybody and their brother is going to be trying to get foil alternate art Thoughtseizes. And there's probably going to be 1 billion Vesuvas on the market in 2 months.
Yeah. Everybody's going to be trying to crack those special foils because they're going to be worth so much from this set. They're so rare that it's like you were saying earlier. They're going to crack every box ever made.
Every box somebody can get their hands on.
Yeah, any box somebody can get their hands on. It's a straight lottery ticket in any of these packs. You get a foil, you might as well hold on to it, especially if it's old border. Especially if it's the first time that card's ever been printed in old border.
Yeah.
Like, that's just insane.
Sliver Legion reprint, some Cloud Shredder Sliver that came out in Modern Horizons. Getting the old border treatment. That looks sweet.
God, that is beautiful.
Wastes in old border.
Oof.
But right next to it, Gemstone Caverns finally reprinted.
Good old reprint.
We've got a few more lands under here. All of these storage lands where you put a counter into them, and then you can take a counter off to add X mana of any type.
Okay, so I've got some French friends on my D2 in my D2 community, and now I just have to point this out. Calvier del Reliquario, right? Yeah. I now know what the word Calvaire means. Knight of the Reliquary. What?
You learned something.
I learned something. I'm coming back with that. I'm coming back with my French Canadian friends. I'm going to be like, oh man.
The lands in this set kind of get me, I'm going to say excited in my pants. Flagstones of Trocare.
Beautiful.
Was reprinted maybe 5 years ago. I want to say 4 or 5 years ago in Eternal Masters.
Dude, Chromatic Star the art for that looks like the Pink Floyd album cover.
Yeah, it does.
So
good call. And now I'm hearing Dark Side of the Moon in my head. Oh. Field of Ruin in the old border style looks gorgeous.
Good. Bloodbraid Elf too. Ooh.
But between these cards, so we're on Mythic Spoiler right now. I see Dryad Arbor and Teleria West. Like, those cards are going to be obtainable again. Oh,
Gosh.
Lavinia Azorius Renegade in the old art border.
That's just
Works.
beautiful.
The art works.
I like Contagion Engine too. That foreign card right there, Contagion Engine in the old border. That was brought
Contagion
out.
Clasp?
Yeah, Contagion Clasp. Sorry.
Yeah.
Contagion Clasp in the old border. That was unique to what? Mirrodin? Is that when it came out? Not Mirrodin. Scars of Mirrodin.
Maybe Scars.
Yeah, Scars for sure. It was one of those newer return to Mirrodin.
Sylvan Scrying in the old border.
Gosh.
We get some Hypergenesis banned everywhere. Don't need it. Summoner's Pact. We could use that.
So can we talk about that for a minute? Hypergenesis being reprinted here. Okay, so
Don't read into it.
I think they're trying to hide
Don't
their
read
tracks
into
here.
it.
No, because if we call this and we're right, this is big news.
I have a plan. You call it, and I'll say no, and then we'll be right either way.
Oh, I love it. All right. So Hypergenesis is catching a reprint here, and this is banned in just about everything. There's no reason to reprint this. It's not good in any format. So
They
they're
reprinted the cycle.
I mean, they could be reprinting this because they're sick of reprinting Tree of Redemption, right? And like,
Thank God.
and they're sick of reprinting the Tree of Redemption and all of the kickback that comes along with that. But can you imagine if they're reprinting this and they're trying to hide it among all of these other cards that they've just banned? And they're trying to hide it among them because they're going to unban Hypergenesis in Modern. Can you imagine if that happened?
Well, they also reprinted Ancient Den in this set. You think they're going to unban one of the artifact lands?
I've always said there's an argument to. There's an argument to unbanning the off-color artifact lands.
Apparently, they only are reprinting Ancient Den, which is weird because, you're not going to put that in Hardened Scales, but whatever. So you go on the record, hey, maybe they will unban Hypergenesis.
I'm going to say
I'll go on the record saying they were just printing the cycle and they were completing it even though you can't actually play that card anywhere.
They're so doing it. They're going to unban it. Unban that card.
We're getting back to cards that maybe we have already seen, but Courser of Crewfix and Beast Within in the old art. Ooh, EDH staples.
Beautiful.
Yavimaya Dryad, you were excited about this card.
Yeah, this is a really good one. I've been a big fan of Yavimaya Dryad for the longest time.
Since Time Spiral block.
I think that was when it was printed the first time. There was I have no idea. This is like an older kind of forgotten card, man. Like it reminds me a lot of what's the other 3-drop that gets you a land? It's a elf.
Wood Elves?
Wood Elves, yeah. It reminds me of Wood Elves.
Where did that come from?
Hey,
do you know somebody named Sweet Phil?
Of course I do, yeah.
Sweet Phil says, "Yo,
Sweet Phil, what's up, man? How are you?"
Yavimaya Dryad.
The guy's a beast on D2, man. Guy's the man.
E-Witness, Primeval Titan in the old frames, Ancient Stirring in the old frames, Farseek in the old frame, Rex Sage in the old frame. Like, again, Rex Sage is a card that is worth literal nothing.
Right.
There's a million printings of it. There are different special printings of it.
But no printings in the old frame, though, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Beast Whisper. Commander All-Star. Old frame. This, if you can find one of these in foil, I'm telling you, it's going to be worth buku bucks. Holy crap. I mean, everybody knows that foil Thoughtseize in the old frame is going to be worth $1 million. But Beast Whisper, don't let it get by you.
Don't you scroll past that card that right there. Oh my God, don't you scroll past that. Dude, this is the first time ever they're reprinting this card right here with the old art.
With the original art. So
original art Tarmo.
I mean, I would like to have seen the frame.
At least the old school border. If you're not going to bring back the future sight border, at least the old school border.
Yeah.
That would have been vicious. I would have loved that. This is weird. This feels like they don't want to, like, for whatever reason, Wizards is hesitant to reprint Tarmogoyf in all of its glory. You know what I mean? In its original art and original border.
And they've reprinted it into the ground, so what the hell?
Yeah, what the hell are you protecting this version for? Throw the old border on this damn thing.
You know what the funny thing is? They actually, on the packaging for Time Spiral Remastered, is a totally different Tarmogoyf art.
Oh my God, that's stupid.
People were so like, they're reprinting Tarmogoyf, look at the new art. And then they reprint it with the original art in a different frame, just to mess with people.
God, that's nuts.
You're right. We can't skip by it because this is another one where, okay, Tarmogoyf is going to be like $8.
Yeah, this
Have
card was
'em for
like
your modern
$100
collection.
at one point.
Add
Like,
them to your modern collection.
yeah, like that card was $100 at one point. I always said I don't think it ever deserved the $100 spot. Like it was good in Jund. That was
Now,
it.
this is interesting. I want to see what the art is on my foil Magus of the Moons, because I bet it's not as cool as this one is going to look in foil.
I have to clarify that it was also good in Rug Delver in Legacy, but that's Legacy, and Legacy does not drive the price of cards. Tarmogoyf was never a $100 card. Like that was good in one deck. And now it's definitely going to be a lot cheaper.
Sweet Phil saying, seeing these Magic cards and hearing us talk about them makes him want to pull out his old cards and talk his kid into playing with them.
Dude, you got it, man. Get him going early. I'm telling you, as an investor in the stock market,
buy Magic cards.
Buy Magic cards. I wish I would have just totally put my money into Magic cards. Bought some reserve list cards or some shit. Like
Zealous, Conscripts.
I'm telling you, they hold value pretty good, man.
EDH All-Star, Monastery, Swift Spear, Old Bordered. If there's somebody that's pimping out their modern burn deck
or Legacy Burn
or Legacy Burn, there's no way that foil is not $50 a pop.
Not at all, dude. That's the coolest border ever printed for that.
And it actually looks fitting. Like,
yeah,
some of the arts seem to clash with the old borders. Some of them just seem to go past in flames. Oh,
Vandal Blast looks really good in the old border. That's like the old school style art right there too. Like you get a little bit of Is It Lightning in there, but at the same time, that looks beautiful in old border.
You get Empty the Warrens and Grape Shot and Rift Bolt. Look at the Atali.
Ooh, beautiful.
There's a card that's been reprinted into the dirt. It was reprinted in 2 of the most recent 5 Commander decks.
Jeez.
And yet they print another version that's going to be cool. Lava Spike again, going into Modern. Simian Spirit Guide, new art. We barely knew you.
Hold on. Don't skip over that nasty burn card. Lava Spike in the old border. Look at that beast. Finally, first time ever, old border Lava Spike reprint. Oh, God, that's going to be good too.
That's got to be played all the way back to vintage formats, right?
Legacy for sure, I think. Yeah, Legacy has it in sideboard for sure.
I say vintage formats.
Like burn is a thing in vintage. Come on now. We've got Black Lotus. We don't care about burn.
How would you like the old school art, old school frame, Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker?
Sign me up.
Along with the old school art, old school frame Restoration Angel in draft.
Sign me up.
Because you can do that in this set.
That's so cool.
I'm not a drafter. I want to draft this set.
Yep.
I don't want to buy a box of this for the money because I honestly don't think a box of this set is worth $200.
I don't think so either, man. These card prices are going to tank hard.
Yeah. Everything except for the alt arts and the foil alt arts are going to go to next to nothing. Like for $200, I'll get probably a play set of the pack foil Urborgs. I'll get a play set of the pack foil Gemstone Caverns. I'll get a foil Teleria Rest. Like I'll get all the lands I want out of this set for the $200 somebody spends on a box.
100%, dude. I mean, because people are going to be trying to recoup their investment from this set. You got to remember, they're going to be trying to crack those lottery foils. I mean, the foil rate on these being 1 in every 26 packs. Is that what you said it was?
For the alt arts.
Yeah, like it's people are going to be trying to get those, and they're going to be selling their other cards that they crack at a discount to try to make up.
Turn it over.
Exactly. Like they're just going to try to turn over to try to get these nasty foils.
All right, so we've got about 5 minutes left in the cast. Tank harder than Tesla over the last month.
Oh!
Wow, shots fired, dude.
Oh, shit. Yeah, they probably will. I would compare them directly to Tesla. That will be like overhyped. Some of these cards are straight overhyped. I believe Tesla, very overhyped. And they're going to see the same sort of fate, I believe. But, dude, so we've got about 5 minutes left. It's time to do a Snap This Up segment, man. This is a segment where we talk about cards that are undervalued. And if you're sick of losing money in the stock market, fuck it. Give it a shot. Buy these cards. They could probably go up in value. I love that you've pulled up my reserved list pick for this week. And you have it ready to go. Don't even show them yet. Don't show them yet. I want to build the expense. I want to build the suspense.
You build the suspense.
All right, so you guys know me. I'm a big fan of the reserved list. If you're not familiar with the reserved list is something that Wizards put out there, and they said, we're never going to reprint these cards. All these sets that are getting printed into the ground, like Tarmogoyf, they used to be a $100 card. Watch it be $8 because they just reprinted into the ground. We are never going to reprint this list of cards. I've got some picks. I love picking off of this list because it's like you can't miss. They're not going to be reprinted. But my picks, I try to pick ones that will immediately go up in value as soon as anybody figures out how good this card really is. And we've nailed it on this cast with reserve list picks. I mean, friggin' nailed it. If you've picked up all of our reserve list picks, your portfolio of Magic cards
has increased.
Is up by like 400%.
Again, I will put in the caveat here. We didn't make those cards go up. We just picked the cards that were slightly playable and undervalued.
Exactly.
And I understand where Mike is going with his pick this week or his picks this week because they're just the reserve list cards that are probably undervalued.
Yep.
I just saw a Reddit post this week. There is not a single card now on the reserve list that is TCG median less than $1.
That's big news.
So everything is worth more than $1.
Everybody's just buying them up because they know, like, people are getting ignorant about it. So you might have to pay $4 or $5 for some of these
people
cards.
I know.
Yeah, right. You might have to pay. You might have to pay $4 or $5 for some of these cards, but trust me, it's worth it because as soon as somebody figures out that all of these bulk cards that they bought off the reserve list are remotely playable, there's a limited supply of them out there.
So what card are we talking about first?
The card this week, Cooley pick of the week, is Soul Echo. This card...
If you've never heard of this card, you're not alone. I had never heard of this card before.
This is how I found this card. I trolled down through the reserve list, and I was like, what cards are remotely playable and under $5? Like, you know what I mean? And I looked through, I'm doing this for you guys, searching through, putting all of my knowledge of MTG to the test and trying to find cards that I can see being remotely playable. And I found one this week. This one is nasty. Like, this is actually a good card that I had never heard of until I'd refined my search and done this. I put my money where my mouth is, and I bought some of this card. If you can't find any on eBay for $5, it's because I'd bought them all. Like, this card is good. So let me tell you about Soul Echo here. Soul Echo. Are you familiar with Phyrexian Unlife? Like, the card Phyrexian Unlife. It's a 3-mana enchantment that says you can't lose the game for being at less than 1 life, right? This is a 2-mana enchantment that does the same thing. It does the same thing. You can pay 3 mana for it to have it kick around. But if you need to go off that turn, you can pay 2 mana for it.
Oh, that's interesting. Could you pay 2 mana for this and then
go off?
Do some sort of
ad nauseum bullshit
combo,
and go off. 2 mana.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, now I'm even more interested in this card because I thought, okay, this card is good to protect you when you go around the table in EDH. But as a protection from yourself to go off in that turn, only being 2 mana, I'm interested. Continue.
So this card is 2 white mana and X, and it says it comes into play with X echo counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have no echo counters on Soul Echo, sacrifice it, right? But otherwise, target opponent may choose that for each 1 damage dealt to you, they take off 1 counter from Soul Echo, right? Otherwise, you can just take all the damage you want because the last line in this epic card says you do not lose the game as a result of having less than 1 life. So if you have 0 life, if you have negative 86 life, you do not lose the game. You can ad nauseum your commander deck, your entire commander deck, and not lose the game.
Well, and for your whole, if you play this for 3, you're good for 2 whole turn cycles.
Right, or if you're teaming up with somebody in Commander, right? If you just play this fairly, if
you can't talk to me about politics in EDH.
There's no politics when I play EDH.
Continue.
But if you're just playing this fair, right? And you're just like, okay, I'm going to play this for 3 with 1 counter on it. And I am going to pick my friend Brad here. Hey, will you choose whether or not this takes counters off when I take damage? And Brad says, no, it will not. It will not remove counters. You may go to whatever life total you want. You can save your friend. You can save yourself with your friends in this game, like with this card right here.
Yep.
Like it's really good even if you play it fair. But the fact that this can be absolutely busted too puts this high on my list of cards to snap this up. $4.96. You can mark my words. I'm going to start calling these prices because whenever I pick these cards that are under $5, this is what they do. I'm going to call the price. This is a $15 card. You want to triple up your investment? Get this. They're never reprinting it again. And for any deck that ever comes out that's trying to abuse that mechanic of not losing for being at 0 or less life, they're going to run this card. Because they're also running Silence. They're also running Phyrexian Unlife. And guess what? Those cards are also in this color. This is a definite snap this up. It's a no-brainer. If you can find them for $5, just get them. You're not gonna hate yourself.
$3, $3.
You can get them for $3.
$3.50 with free shipping on orders over $35. So most of these, they're like between $3 and $5 with a bunch of shipping costs on TCG. So
get them. Get them, dude. This is such a good card. Very abusable.
I'm more intrigued by this now than I was before because at the beginning of your upkeep, you would bury it, right? So if you play this for 1 mana and then you send it around the table,
or 2 mana. Yep.
Nope, for 3 mana.
Yep.
You send it around the table, it gets back to you, and it has 1, right?
Right. So
and then you choose an opponent
exactly
who decides what's going to happen until your next upkeep.
Exactly.
So now,
no one's chosen as soon as it comes out.
Right. So in Commander, in an Enchantress deck, in some sort of group, even a group hug deck, somebody that's playing a bunch of enchantments that just wants to have a bunch of enchantments on the board, I could see that this is playable, which is the lowest of low bars for a reserve list card to be worth $20.
Yep.
I have no doubt that this card would be $15.
And that's a very conservative estimate from me, honestly. We're looking at a time when Silence at one point in his lifetime was $7.
Sweet Phil says he's selling out of AMD and buying Solak.
Yes, good choice. It's a good choice.
So the card, one of the other cards that came up into our conversation earlier was Tidal Conduit, and this is another 3-mana enchantment that Mike really liked.
Dude, I love this. So this is another reserved list card. They're never reprinting this card ever again. This is a $6 card, so it's a little more expensive, right? Above the price of a share of AMD. But so listen to this card too. This is crazy. It has the cumulative upkeep, which I think scares a lot of people away. And this is going to lead into something that Brad has picked later on after hearing all of these arguments. But cumulative upkeep is an ability that typically scares people away because they see cumulative upkeep and they're like, oh, I don't want to have to keep paying that every upkeep.
Yeah. I mean,
every time I see cumulative upkeep, I look at it like a blessing instead of a curse. Because guess what? It generates a counter. The way that this is phrased in the ruling is it generates a counter. It puts a counter on the permanent. And then you have to pay its cumulative upkeep for each counter on it. You can manipulate those counters.
You can take those counters off.
You can manipulate them. You can use them for other things. But even if you didn't, let's just pretend that you didn't have to do this with this card. And let's just look at what this card does. So it's a 3-mana enchantment, 2 blue and 1 colorless. Cumulative upkeep, pay 2 mana. But it says, any player may pay 2 mana or 2 life to counter target red or green spell. Any player! Like, not even just you. Like, if you're playing a commander game and you got Brad, oh man, I'm really low on life, man. You want to pay 2 life and counter that? Even if I'm playing this 1-on-1 in Legacy and I'm just like, yep, slam this turn 3. I have no mana, but I can now counter any red or green spell with 2 life. I don't need mana. This instantly gets you value. It makes your opponent play differently. They're like, shit. Like, now he can counter all red and green spells. look at the cards that we've picked before. I'm going to bring back Dystopia, right? 3 mana enchantment that targeted 2 colors, green and white. It went from 99 cents to $5. That is a 400% increase in the value of the card. Like this right here, it's at $6. It targets 2 colors. Your opponents can use it too. It generates a counter that you can manipulate. And guess what? It's also in Muldrotha colors, which is one of the big caveats to cards like Dystopia.
Yeah.
And
that was the other thing. This card being able to be just let it go to the graveyard and then bring it back with Muldrotha and then let it go to the graveyard. And the next turn I can counter everybody's green spells for life in Muldrotha, where you're gaining life and playing lands and playing stuff. And
yeah, I mean, and it's just, I mean, and I like to go back to the fairness of the card too. And don't think about, this is us pandering to the casual player, right? I like to think about ways these cards can be abused and absolutely busted. But even if you don't think of it like that.
We're at like an hour and 10 minutes and I'm out of drink. Get to the point.
All right. Well, this is the point. This card is insane. You can slam it and counter your opponent's spells right off the bat without having any mana available. And then you could choose to keep it around and do this for up to 2 additional turns on a fair level.
Right, because you have 3 mana, you can pay 2. The next turn you can pay 4.
Lay a land, yep, and then bam, pay it again and just ball your opponent up for 3 turns.
So I also have 2 picks this week. One I stole from Mike, and it was after looking at both of these cumulative upkeep enchantments, and that's Power Conduit, which has only been printed once.
1 printing for this card.
And is a relatively affordable foil that I think has a lot of underexplored potential. So these foils are about $5.
This is the card
$6 with shipping.
This is the card I always think of when I see these cumulative upkeep costs. I always think about Power Conduit.
Remove counter from a permanent you control.
So you can remove that time counter.
You can remove that time counter. You can remove a -1/-1 counter. You can this just says counter from permanent you control. If you happen to have a janky planeswalker that has a high loyalty, you can steal a counter from it. Either put a charge counter on something like what's a charge counter, like an Everflowing Chalice?
Magistrate Scepter, Everflowing Chalice, Astral Cornucopia.
All of the ramp artifacts that deal with charge counters. You can take a time counter off of an upkeep counter from one of those and put more mana on another thing. Or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So you can turn those cumulative upkeep counters into +1/+1 counters for 2 mana in a colorless artifact. I think that this...
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh my goodness.
Is your watch talking to you?
It thinks that I'm talking to it.
Dude, the first time I ever busted this card in one of my vintage decks, do you want to hear about this? This is next level busted with this card. This is what I was doing. I had Glacial Chasm, which is a land that says all damage dealt to you is reduced to 0. And it has cumulative upkeep, pay 2 life. So it generates the cumulative upkeep counter, and I have to pay 2 life for each counter on it. I would use Power Conduit to take that cumulative upkeep counter off of it and put it on Jit and gain 2 life. So I'd have to pay 2 life, but then I'd gain 2 life, and suddenly nobody could damage me. Ever.
Whether or not this is going to, how likely this is to see a reprint, charge counters are weird. But yes, this could be reprinted. So I'm not saying sell out of Tesla and buy into Power Conduit.
Definitely don't do that. This is not on the reserve list. That's for sure.
But I could see this being in a cute modern deck that somebody hasn't found yet. I mean, people found Lantern Control out of the blue after digging through a bunch of cards that had been around for years. There may be a Power Conduit deck that we just don't know about. Have a playset of non-foils in your binder. Have a foil in your binder for Commander. I think at $5 for the foils, this is a pretty good deal. The other card that I think is seeing more play in Modern right now and hasn't been printed since Masters. Let's see. So this was Modern Horizons and Masters 25. But Unearth foils.
Busted card. Unearth is so good.
Unearth is so good. as the overall CMC of Commander comes down, I think that this is actually finding many more targets. And if nothing else, it's a cycling card.
It can find your Croxes, your Uros, and put them into play.
Yeah.
Again. For one.
So this is interesting because all of the non-foil copies are less than $1, even going back to Urza's Legacy. But the Urza's Legacy foils,
oh my God, $65?
65, 70, 100.
Oh my God.
There's 1, 2, 5, 8, 10. There are 12 copies of those Urza's foils.
God.
Total. And I'm looking at near mint and LP because that's the only way to fly.
And I just want to point this out. This was back in the days when the foil cards that popped up were what they are bringing back in this Time Spiral reprint. The odds of getting a foil were the same of what they're bringing back in this Time Spiral reprint.
But here's the thing. You can go over to the Masters 25 foils that have this cool little hammer watermark behind them.
Yep. There's Legacy watermark. A buck.
So this is very much a modern playable card, and I think we'll start to see more play in EDH as the average CMC of EDH decks come down. If you don't have them, it's not going to hurt to get them. And this has been reprinted now in Modern Horizons, in Masters 25. I don't know that they're going to rush to give us a third printing in the next year or two.
Yeah. And if they do, I can almost promise you it's not going to lower the foil price now to less than $1.
No.
Like, it's this card is very playable.
It's been printed twice in the last 3 or 4 years, and the Urza's Legacy foils are still near $100.
Yeah.
So if you're a high roller, those are probably still the safer place to store money. You know, you could have 100 Masters 25 copies at 99 cents, and a reprint could send them to 50 cents.
Right. And especially whereas we have this Time Spiral where they're reprinting the old border, if this dodges any of these other announcements, that might also be a good place to just park your money, like you said, in the old border version of Unearth. If you have $65 and you're like, yeah, whatever. Like,
yeah.
You know what I
well,
mean?
and that's it. Like the $65 version, if it catches a reprint, is probably not going to 30.
Right.
It's gonna go down to 15, versus your 65 copies of the other one are going to 30.
Exactly.
This has been the SnapCast podcast for another week. Awesome spoilers, awesome modern deck lists, fun conversations hanging out with you. Nice to meet you, sweet Phil.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you, Jason. Awesome. By the way, Jason said that that Tidal Control was a perfect anti-Andy card.
I can see that.
So he was saying, Tech 4 might not like us countering his blue and red spells.
Also anti-GB these days.
Ooh.
I love it. I'm buying it just for that.
Hey, if you haven't, like the channel, subscribe to the channel so you get notified when we go live or when we post extra content. Andy does do some gameplay videos. I actually have an interesting idea either for a segment for next week or a special treat before then, so look out in the next week for a little something new.
Loving it. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you very soon. And as we always say, spread the podcast.
Not the plague.